Hi, I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week. We're unfortunately having to report on damage from a hurricane yet again this week. Hurricane Delta came ashore in Louisiana just 13 miles east of where Hurricane Laura landed just 6 weeks before. While Delta was not as strong as Laura, it brought more misery to an already battered Louisiana. Many in the Lake Charles area still had temporary roofing or blue tarps on their houses. We spoke with LSU Ag Center climatologist and WAFB chief meteorologist Jay Grimes, and he said in many ways this was a record year, tied for most landfalls ever in Louisiana.
Makes landfall within 15 miles of the same location. That's not only unheard of for Louisiana. I can't think of a time that that's happened anywhere in the United States. Two hurricanes so close together in time frame, 6 weeks apart, and then making landfall in virtually the same location. It's as if Delta came in to finish off the job. And the difference here was, although they came in at the same place, Delta took a little bit more of a northeasterly track, which meant it went more into some of the more heavily populated parts of southern Louisiana, up into northeastern Louisiana, and did exactly the same thing. Impacted the rice and sugarcane in the southern part of the state, and then rolled right up into cotton country in the northern part of the state. Both of them produced widespread flooding. Power outages during both storms were excessive. In fact, it turns out that Delta, even though not as strong of a hurricane at landfall as Laura, actually the number of people that went without power was greater. And Delta ranks as maybe even the fourth most significant storm in Louisiana history in terms of power outages.
As Jay mentioned, sugarcane was a big target of Delta. The crop was damaged in many areas, including Iberia Parish, where sugarcane farmer Ricky Gosselin is still calculating the damage from Laura. As Twila's Neil Melanson tells us, Delta is more than just insult to injury. It's becoming a wound that will not heal.
As you drive down Highway 90 near New Iberia, signs of the damage from Hurricane Delta are everywhere. Sugarcane trucks are headed to fields where there's damage as well. It's hard to tell here what's from Delta and what's from Laura, according to cane farmer Ricky Gosselin.
Surge was bad on our farm in particular, and it's a tremendous experience, and it's a tremendous blow to our farm.
This was Ricky's field just 6 weeks ago, right after Laura. This is his field now. It's hard to tell the difference. What has remained the same is that water from Delta is being pumped out now, which is a big cost in fuel.
We run two pumps that pump water out of some of these farmlands, and about 50% of my farms in a low area where we have to pump. And with these two storms, it's going to run my costs up 40% on the bottom line of my operation costs. And that's out the grower. It's not out of any other landlord share. That's all out the grower's pocket. So with margins tight nowadays and input costs rising, this is a significant setback for the farm. This is debris that floated in from neighborhoods or other fields or marsh grass and whatnot. Now this is just on the end of a road, but I have this throughout 2,000 acres of sugarcane that can impact my harvest costs.
Debris in the field like this is another expense, one that he doesn't really know how to calculate. He also doesn't know what he's yet lost for Delta. What he does know is that he's lost 110 acres of plant cane during Laura, and who knows how much sugar content as the plants repair themselves. One number does sum up his experiences this year, however.
When you ask what about Delta, I mean, what comes to mind is number two. And number two, that's the second punch we get in the mouth. You work all year, and 2 days out of the year you get battered by two hurricanes and it knocks you down to your knees. And it's a tough pill to swallow. But farmers deal with adversity, and we'll continue to fight hard.
As you can see from this ground around me here in front of the port of New Iberia, this is ground that was planted in cane that won't be coming up for the next growing season due to Hurricane Laura. There's no telling how much damage Hurricane Delta did and how many more acres won't be coming up as a result of that. There's also no telling how much damage has been done to farmers in terms of stress from this hurricane season. Farmers all across Louisiana have been in the cone of uncertainty, both from hurricanes and for their growing season. Reporting from New Iberia, I'm Neil Melanson.
Delta did not just affect the sugarcane crop, it affected the sugar mills as well. We spoke with grower and mill board member Mike Melanson, who said all of Louisiana's sugar mills were shut down for Delta with an average downtime of 4 days. He says this is the first time he can remember this happening statewide. From sugarcane in South Louisiana to cotton in the north, Hurricane Delta struck a blow to Louisiana's cotton crop. Twila's Carl Wiggers heads back up to cotton country to see how the crop handled the unwelcome wind and rain.
Farmers are ready to put this year behind them, but before they can do that, they must finish harvesting this year's cotton crop, a crop that's again been hit with a tropical system. The latest to hit this crop is Hurricane Delta, which dropped up to 15 inches of rain on parts of Louisiana's cotton crop.
The biggest loss with Delta, I think, the past storm, it's just kind of kicking us while we're down a little bit. Our fields that are going to go underwater. If you have cotton that looks like this behind me that goes underwater, you're going to lose from that water level down. It's just not going to be any good.
Trey Price is the interim cotton, corn, and grain sorghum specialist at the LSU Ag Center Research Station in Winsboro. He says rain is just one half of the equation.
The other losses would be due to wind and rain, the combination of wind and rain, and you have droppage. At this point, we don't have solid numbers yet, but I'm hearing reports of up to 15 to 20% of the cotton on the ground, which is what we call drop.
Another factor will be seen later on when the cotton is picked and ginned. Price says the quality of the cotton, which goes down with each rain, is really taking a hit.
If you've got mature cotton in the field and you get a series of rainfall events and you have the cotton's defoliated, your quality's steady going to go down. And your harvestability goes down too. You'll have, it gets real stringy. You can see the cotton behind me is real stringy. It's not fluffy. And so you may have tagging occurring, things like that. So it creates harvest problems.
Farmers in North Louisiana cannot afford problems like that this year. Many farmers north of Interstate 20 were late getting their crop planted this spring, putting farmers in that region way behind schedule. Price says farmers in central Louisiana had a better spring for planting, but are struggling to get the crop out.
In central Louisiana, I'm really concerned about the growers there. As far as they got the crop planted on time, but they're really taking a beating here at harvest. Because of course the hurricanes are going to be more severe. Even, it's 75 miles as a crow flies from here to Alexandria. But you look at Alexandria this year, they've had 2 hurricanes and a tornado there at that research station. So they're really taking it on the chin.
Price says the range of acres harvested varies greatly depending on many factors, but central Louisiana is behind the rest of the state.
I'd say they're 25 to 40% harvested, somewhere in that range. Talked to a lot of agents last week ahead of Delta and got some numbers, but I suspect that those estimates went up 2 or 3 days before the storm because the growers were out there hustling, trying to get the crop out of the field. I've been happy with the yield reports that we've get, considering what the crop's been through here. It's taken a long time to get it in. It's been a long season. 2020 has definitely been a year for the record books.
Those are record books that I know farmers and all business owners are ready to close.
If our growers can stay in the game after this year, they can take anything.
Price says what farmers really need is about 7 to 10 days of weather just like we have right now. Sunny, dry, and a light breeze so that they can finish harvesting this crop and put 2020 right behind them. And Avery, that's where all the farmers are ready to go. They're ready to go to the off season and get their fields ready for next year and hopefully a better crop.
I seem to remember folks saying we want to get 19 right behind us as well.
Right. It seems like a common theme, but I wanted to follow up. Last week, I shared a story about Marshall Hardwick. They finished harvesting their crop. I know we said that in the tag. They finished harvesting minutes before the rain set in there in Tensas Parish from Hurricane Delta. So that was really fortunate, and I was glad to see that.
So how is harvest looking up there? Is everybody kind of in the same area?
It's really all over the place. North of I-20, and we talked about this in the story, Trey Price was saying north of I-20 was really late getting their cotton planted, so that it was a struggle really. So, I mean, some of that cotton isn't even defoliated yet. Like, they're so far behind, and there's crops, it depends on the parish, on the farm really. I mean, there's some parishes are probably 90% done, some are still like 25 to 50% harvested. So it's really kind of crazy right now.
Well, thank you very much, Carl Wiggers. We appreciate that. With numerous hurricanes making landfall this year in Louisiana, our pine forests really took it on the chin. One highly effective method to clean up down timber is to burn it. The LSU Ag Center and the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry regularly conduct prescribed burner certification courses to educate and inform those interested in burning safely. Twila's Jennifer Finley attended the most recent workshop to show us the extensive training.
We're going to go ahead and do a test burn, and then we'll let you know what it does. So just hang tight.
Copy that.
We are at the Hammond Research Station, which is part of the LSU Ag Center. We are here today for a prescribed burner certification workshop. This is people who want to burn the woods. And so we have wildfires, which are bad, but we also have prescribed burns, which are good and prevent wildfires from happening.
Gloves, hard hat, no mix shirt, or cotton shirt.
A prescribed burn is a control burn. If you look at what's going on secondary, for instance, Hurricane Laura, we have over 750,000 acres that were devastated by the storm. We have 20 million tons of fuel, timber, debris on the ground. What a prescribed burn does is in a controlled environment, when the weather conditions are right, when the moisture conditions are right, when the wind is low, that we burn the forest to eliminate the unneeded and unnecessary fuel. And we do this so that we don't get a wildfire that can be at the wrong time when it's too dry and can burn out of control. The proper use of fire is a very good tool to prevent what we call wildland and out of control forest fires.
The temperature hits 75 degrees. When we burn, there are certain weather conditions that we want to make sure that we have. We don't want it too dry, we don't want it too wet, and what are these kind of conditions? This is the education that we're doing here, is to make sure the prescribed burners know what those conditions are. They know what their smoke is doing, they know where their smoke is going to go, and they know the right weather conditions that we can get the smoke up and away so that we're not causing problems.
There are people that do this for a living, and what we recommend is that you don't burn the forest on your own unless you are a certified prescribed burner, because once you light that match, right, you've got to be in control, of the fire. But if done properly, it is very, very beneficial to the forest and to the environment.
And we're going to have a lot of problems post-hurricane. First of all, the trees are like pickup sticks, coming down. So that is very, very difficult to log. Our logging machinery is made for trees that are standing up straight, not for trees that are halfway laying down. So loggers are inefficient. The mills are overwhelmed. The sawmills and the plywood mills are totally overwhelmed now with salvage wood. So at best, we can only salvage 10% of the timber that comes down. What happens to the other 90%? Well, it has to come down and we have to do something with it. Particularly urban and suburban areas, a lot of that ends up in this huge landfill where hopefully they have an opportunity to burn it and bring it down. We have the potential for bugs and diseases coming into our trees because with the wind, even the trees that survive, they've been doing this moving motion the whole time during the storm. And so that tears up the inside of the tree and it tears up the roots. When it tears up the roots, the trees don't uptake water like they should. When they don't uptake water, they cannot fight off the bugs like bark beetle bugs, Ips beetles especially, and southern pine beetles. They burrow through the bark, make little tiny chambers, and the way the tree fights that is it fills those chambers with sap so that the bugs can't crawl through those chambers. So what I'm expecting next year in these hurricane hit areas, we're going to see more bark beetles in the pine trees and more dead pine trees from bark beetles. The good news is that trees grow a lot faster than we probably realize. And so we can do our site preparation, we call it, and we can plant new trees. Louisiana plants 110 million trees every year as it is. Industry plants a tremendous amount of trees. And so we have the nurseries in place and we have the contractors in place that can do the tree planting and renew all this forest. And life sort of starts over in that. The forest as a life will start over.
If you'd like to attend an event like this or learn more about upcoming prescribed burner certification courses, head over to our website at twilatv.org. All of these recent storms making landfall also has many of us realizing we have trees that need to be trimmed and some that may need to be completely removed for safety reasons. Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry Dr. Mike Strange stresses the importance of making sure that you are working directly with a licensed and insured professional when dealing with your neighborhood trees.
Very important that, with the storms, especially before the storm, if you're going to have somebody come out and trim the trees or trim things off your roof, that you hire a licensed arborist after the fact, which especially you want to see that person's license. You want to make sure they're licensed and have insurance. And of course, always get a written estimate for any type of arborist work, and never pay more than 50% for a deposit. Never pay the full amount up front.
You can find a complete list of licensed arborists on the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry website. We'll link you over on our website, twilatv.org. Tree damage is still an issue at Camp Grant Walker in Pollock, but Hurricane Delta dealt another blow to the 4-H camp, flooding. Here you see pictures inside the newest building at Camp Grant Walker, the Ellis S. Martin Pavilion. That's just a few inches of water on the floor, but as anyone who's been through a flood knows, a few inches can do a lot of damage. Water also got into the computer lab at the camp. You can see here it's a bit more water in that building. We showed you last week the damage left by Laura and shared information about how you can donate to the Grant Walker 4-H Education Center Support Fund. You'll find a link to help out on our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on Twila, we head back to Northeast Louisiana for a crop you may be surprised to learn we grow in Louisiana. Stay with us.
I now hope they're fighting today.
I hope they are.
I got a fish! I got a fish!
Find your place in the country and the lender who can get you there. Find Louisiana Land Bank. Financing for country homes, recreational property, farms and ranches, and agribusiness.
It's a well-known fact that here in Louisiana, sugarcane is more than just a crop. It's a way of life. It creates more than 16,000 jobs across the state and an additional $3 billion boost to our state's economy. And Louisiana's cane families always give back to the communities where we live, work, and play. Louisiana sugarcane, making life sweeter, naturally.
Sugarcane, sweet sugarcane.
I'm a farmer.
I am a farm wife.
I am a cowboy.
I am a grass farmer.
I'm a businesswoman.
I'm a conservationist.
I am an advocate.
I am a voice for Louisiana farmers.
I'm always learning.
I'm a husband.
I'm a mom.
I am a dad.
I'm a granddad.
I am a consumer.
I grow the food that feeds your family, and I'm proud of it. I am Farm Bureau.
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 We are Farm Bureau.
While they may be small in terms of acreage, Louisiana peanut farms can produce yields that rival any state. Like with most crops, peanut harvest has been slowed by the tropical systems that rolled through Louisiana. As Twila's Craig Gotro shows us, farmers are now taking advantage of good weather forecasts to finish bringing in that crop.
Louisiana farmers have been producing a commercial peanut crop for more than 50 years, but not many people know about it. All of the production takes place in the extreme northeast corner of the state because it takes a special place to grow them.
The main thing you got to have to grow peanuts in North Louisiana is real sandy soils. That's the main thing. It needs to be as close to beach sand as you can get.
And if you do have the right soils, you can produce peanuts just as good as anywhere in the country.
Well, I'd like to make 3 tons to the acre, but we normally make between 2.5 and 3 tons.
Jordan has a 3-year crop rotation, growing peanuts followed by corn followed by soybeans. Legumes such as peanuts help with the fertility of the soil.
With the lagoon, you're scavenging nitrogen out of the air, converting it into that nodule on that plant, and that plant's leaving that nodule in the ground for the corn crop the next year, or for just residual nitrogen.
While the peanuts themselves have many uses, the plants make an excellent animal feed.
It's a high protein source. You've got the vines, you actually have maybe some residual peanuts in the mix. So it's a very high protein source for lactating cows or for cows in the winter.
Jordan says his peanut yields and the income he receives is consistent, and if conditions allow, he will expand his peanut acreage. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gotro reporting.
The peanuts grown in Louisiana are used in many items, including confections and oil products. So there you go. You're probably buying it every time you go to the store. I don't think you need me to remind you that this is an election year. I'm sure your social media channels are doing a fine job about that. However, I do want to focus your attention on one race here in Louisiana that's extremely important to agriculture. Louisiana's 5th Congressional District runs from the Arkansas state line through Monroe and Alexandria down to parts of Washington Parish. It is the largest row crop district in the country, and the person representing that district traditionally sits on the House Agriculture Committee. Currently, Dr. Ralph Abraham represents that district. However, Dr. Abraham is not running for re-election. That said, there are 9 people vying for that seat. 2 of them, both Republicans, reached out to Twila, so we're going to share what they had to say. First, alphabetically by name, is State Representative Lance Harris. Harris has served in the Louisiana House of Representatives since 2012 and says he knows the value of agriculture.
Agriculture is extremely important in this district, and I know that because I'm a farm owner. I have a farm that we raise pecan trees, cattle, and a whole lot of other stuff, and it's very important to our district. But I got involved in this race because I think that we need leadership in Washington that understands business, that understands the free enterprise system, that will go the extra mile to make sure we protect those free markets, and that we supply all of our businessmen, our farmers, our people, our small business owners with the tools they need to be successful.
The other candidate is Luke Letlow, who served in Congressman Abraham's congressional office as his chief of staff. Letlow says that experience has prepared him to serve the state's farmers and ranchers.
I've been so blessed to be able to work alongside Congressman Abraham in Congress. And I've really learned from the best. He has been a service-first congressman. Has cared so much about our people, and agriculture is the backbone of this district. And we've been able to do some really amazing things while he's been in Congress. I grew up in an agricultural community, but I've learned so much, being part of the Ag Committee and with the Ag policy we've been able to participate with. So, I'm excited about what we've done, and I'm more excited about what we can continue to do.
The primary election is Tuesday, November 3rd. Still to come on Twila, a real sunny Twila boost. Stay with us.
Landowners are minding the Louisiana forest for our grandchildren. A place for wildlife, recreation, lumber for homes. It's the right thing to do. Forestry, covering half our state, all of our hearts.
That's slow, that's slow. That's slow. Look, he's blushing.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Jason, let's go see your room.
It's time for the Twila Boost, a little pick-me-up at the end of our show. And this week's boost comes from a little patch of country right in the middle of the big city of Baton Rouge. The sunflowers are in bloom at the LSU Ag Center Botanic Garden at Burden, and our own Jennifer Finley just so happened to have her drone, her sunny disposition, and a bit of inspiration to put together this reminder that sometimes you just have to stop and look at the pretty flowers.
Gonna kick off my shoes and run outside. Gonna smile at the sun in the big blue sky. I'll soak it all up and take my time and seize the day. I'm gonna seize the day. Gonna whistle back to the singing birds. Gonna write me a song and forget the words. Yeah, when the going's rough, it's the happy cure to seize the day. I'm gonna seize the day. I'm gonna seize the day. And when it feels the light is giving into the dark, I'm gonna keep these happy minutes in my heart. I'm gonna seize the I'm gonna seize the I'm gonna seize
I just love sunflowers. Well, that does it for this edition of Twila. Be sure to join us next week when we'll bring you a brand new Field to Feast with Jennifer Finley. Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and also you can find all of these stories on our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you know when we put up new content. For all of us here at Twila, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.